So it's finally time for me to sit down and film this video, which means I have to take one of the titles and thumbnails I've been pitching myself for this video I've been working on for over 90 days at this juncture, and do an intro that is appropriate for that. I'm heavily leaning towards the I stole this YouTube guru's method, blah blah blah, so that's probably what I ended up picking. And just off the top, know that the stealing part is clickbait. The TLDR here is that I watch a lot of how to do YouTube right kind of videos because I'm always looking for new inspiration and techniques that could help me find more viewers who are interested in the content I offer. And almost 5 years in, I found like 1 or 2 YouTube guru people that I follow religiously while I dismiss pretty much everyone else. And my all-time favorite standalone YouTube guru's gotta be Nolan Molt. Partially because I think he offers very simple to execute advice, and I think he makes one-to-one application of it more than you can find in other channels that are still offering basically the same thing. But on top of that, he also offers a lot of free courses and free calls and stuff, and when you sit in one of his courses, eventually you get a point to one-on-one questions. And I'll say even rewatching the same stuff over and over again is worth it because he's so genuine and authentic when he talks to people and answers their questions, and people are asking questions I haven't even thought of asking before. They're also asking a lot of things that I think are sort of dumb or like not really related to why Nolan is there, which is entertaining for me and keeps me coming back over and over again to Nolan Molt's pitch for his Content Academy, which is a course on how to do YouTube for business owners, which obviously I am not a business owner. I guess technically I am because I do contract work as a technical editor for folks, but it's not a perfect sync one-to-one to my channel. And I have always been sort of curious about how to take my interest in reading and bookish stuff and like connect it to my editing work, because there is a link there in a way that might actually help me get more contracts and help me connect with individual clients instead of working for companies, which like it's totally fine to work for a company too. There's always a bunch of people you meet, there's like a lot of learning, but I would love to work with someone one-on-one like on a passion project or something, and it can be a little bit harder to find those kinds of contracts. So I've always really wanted to join Nolan's Content Academy, and it's kind of expensive, so I've never really been able to put up the money ahead of time to do so. And a large part of me wonders if there's any value for me personally in doing that, because right now I don't have the business portion that he's always pitching. Don't think that Nolan can help me get a business off the ground. I think he just helps you promote the business once you have that key piece. So what I decided I would do to test out whether or not Nolan's advice is sound even from like a base level is I would take 2 years basically of his one-on-one masterclass contents that I've gotten for free and apply them to my YouTube routine to see if it helps me in the areas I'm looking for help. So just a little bit about who Nolan Molt is and what I have done these past 90 days based off of the training that you can get for free online with him. He has sort of been a YouTube mentor for me since way back in 2021 when I first discovered him on Think Media, and he was doing a bunch of Final Cut Pro tutorials, which I learned so much and opened me up to like a whole bunch of different little rabbit holes I could go down as far as the editing software portion goes. He also gave advice on lighting, sound, and where and when to film, like a whole bunch of basic stuff that I really needed those one-to-one courses. And don't blame Nolan for any mistakes you see in my videography. That's me learning and trying to apply that stuff and still suffering some user error even all these years later. But eventually Think Media and Nolan parted ways, and when that happened he sort of was at loose ends trying to figure out what his next thing would be, and that's when he created the Content Academy, which is specifically how to grow on YouTube for business owners. But certainly anyone who does YouTube could take his advice. Most of his free masterclasses are about how to find your audience and generate leads, which obviously to generate those leads you would need to get views. And since the goal for everyone who's uploading to this platform is to get views, that part should stand solid no matter what I do with the channel going forward. And as far as like proving himself and his method is successful, he's got a lot of stories and a lot of people who like really champion his program. Not to mention he has done it successfully himself with some various other channels, and he highlights all of that at his own channel, so I won't talk too much about it. But needless to say, there are plenty of people who really vouch for his method, and in these class calls where the group could be as large as a couple hundred or as small as like I've done one with 25 people before, Nolan is very personable and generous with his time, and he gives thoughtful responses even to questions that are like a little bit outside of what he's pitching expertise wise. And he does suggest some things that like I don't do in my YouTube method, because as a bookish content creator, usually how I do videos is I'm reading stuff or I'm watching watching stuff, if we're talking about shows and movies and I realize I have something to say about them, and then I kind of script it all out, and based off of that script dump, I can usually find a focal element and I spin things based off of that focal element. But the last thing that comes into play off of that is going to be my thumbnail and title. And Nolan's focus is very package forward. He wants you to come up with the viral title and thumbnail first and then script a video based off of that. You know, because his pitch is that the thumbnail and title is the first thing a viewer sees, and the goal here isn't to get search traffic, but it's to get browser traffic, because those are real people choosing to talk to you. And Nolan's given you some of the research ahead of time to figure out what a viral title would be. He's looked at like the most successful titles across platform and then recommends you take those and adapt it to your specific business or niche. As far as thumbnail advice, he really is like a guy who suggests 3 main elements: your face, something relevant to what you're talking about, and maybe 1 word or 2 words. And of course you need like a muted background going on that doesn't distract. And like all this advice is obviously pretty common sense. Like if someone doesn't click on your video, then they will never view it or subscribe to you. So like it makes sense to focus on packaging first. It's just hard for me to change my process. And I've been a little bit resistant to fully transitioning over to picking out the title and thumbnail first and then moving forward. Another big part of Nolan's process is to find outliers in your niche, and that requires like a certain amount of research. And like with bookish stuff, a lot of times it's very time sensitive. It takes a lot of work to make bookish content, so I have concerns going in that some of the advice he gives is not something that's feasible for BookTube, where there's a lot of work on the front end to make these videos. So if we look at his Content Academy course, he has 2 phases. Phase 1 is about 14 days long, where he starts with a monthly kickoff call for all of the new students to the Content Academy and creates a personalized growth roadmap for each person that sort of like tells you what you should be doing the next 12 weeks. It's about getting crystal clear with your niche, your target audience, what content you should make, as well as the proven YouTube process, TM, so you know exactly how to make those YouTube videos the right way to get eyes on your videos. Which like leads me into problem number 1. Obviously I'm not doing the Content Academy, so Nolan Molt cannot make me a personalized growth map. But I am going to take some of the indicators that he has you focus on the class and see if I'm achieving those or not, and then make a growth plan for me based off of what I need to improve or work on. So Nolan's strategy for business owners is to make 1 piece of long form content a week and consistently upload. And the whole premise here is you need consistent uploads to be relevant, yada yada. It's all like basic stuff anyone will tell you about becoming a YouTuber. The goal here is to make the packaging such that the majority of your views come from the browse feature and not the search feature, because the search is just very dicey on YouTube. You're looking for a CTR of at least 2 to 3% on each one of your videos, and you want to be within the norm of retention rate for the length of your video, which for my videos it's in the 10 minutes or longer category, so I'm looking for somewhere between 40 to 60% ratio. And if you're looking for 5-minute or shorter videos, you're looking for 20 to 70% retention rate. This particular program is not for short content creators. He doesn't care about shorts at all, which is great because I'm not a huge fan of shorts either. I do upload 1 short a week, and it's just a habit, really. Like, I create these shorts in batch, I look at them, and I try to drop them when I feel like they'll be relevant, but it's very dicey. I have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not very successful at it, and I'm not looking to turn my focus into shorter clips. So looking at my channel as of June 30th by these metrics, looking at the 90-day ratio, my CTR is at 2.1%, which is like just barely in what Nolan's looking for. Audience retention rate for my most popular videos at the 90-day mark are at 23.4% on a 9-minute long video. So I'm gonna say, like, based off of my click-through rate and retention rate, I'm probably sitting at a D-. The one saving grace here is something else that Nolan points out, is if your YouTube metrics, each video is under 1,000 views, you really don't have enough data to get a firm snapshot on what people are or are not liking. And I very rarely have 1,000+ views on a video, and I certainly don't have 1,000+ views on a video within like the first 2 to 3 months of an upload happening. While I would love to get that retention rate up, the biggest thing I need to do in this next 90 days is just increase views overall, so that I'll actually have some statistics that will tell me something meaningful instead of me kind of guessing off of too limited a census number. So the customized plan I followed over these past 90 days was I continued to do my one long form per week as planned, because I had several videos that were planned or already done and I wasn't going to change things for this experiment, and to continue to do my one short a week upload. And then I added a second video to the docket that I released on Fridays, which is usually like a heavier view topic, and that was my Nolan Molt specific video where I did like some intentional research looking for outliers, where I workshopped some titles and thumbnails to try and like make the packaging as approachable as possible, and also to make the subject matter trending and interesting and engaging for the audience, like at a higher level than generally. And I felt like this would be a interesting way to go about things, because then I'd be able to compare my normal Monday upload with my Friday upload and see like whether the Nolan Molt video gets more views or my own take and idea got more views. And I did give the Molt video preference, like my Friday uploads get more views just on average than my Monday views do. So another hallmark of Nolan's class is the VSL, or the YouTube Video Sales Lead, because his class is for business owners and it is about selling something to your customer base, and you don't want to seem like you're selling something in every video. A main strategy that Nolan employs for these business owners is to have one video where you do your sales pitch all the time and you just keep redirecting people to that while you create content that's sort of like related to whatever it is you're selling, but not always like, and I have a business, or and I have a class I want you to do. Instead, you talk about a topic that interests people. At the end, you could be like, and if you want more like this, I've got a class which you can check out more info for over here or whatever. Or, you know, if you do commission work of some kind, you'd be like, hey, if you want to know more about my commission business, or if you want to sign up for my commission business, you can check out more details about that in the video over here. The VSL is where you redirect people to who might be interested, with the rest of your content sort of being like ad free, and that way people don't feel like you're always selling to them. Instead, they feel like you're actually talking to them about stuff that you're passionate about and you care about, which is important because like you should be passionate and care about and be knowledgeable about whatever it is you're trying to sell. So showcasing that, I feel like, is more important on YouTube than actually selling the product. And Nolan's philosophy on this video sales lead is that you should do it right away. You should put it up even before you put up other content. You should put it public. You shouldn't put it private or like unlisted, because you will get some people cold calling you with nothing else going on. But after you have that sales video up, then you can keep redirecting links to it, and you can just put up your normal content and talk freely about whatever it is on the video and not have to worry about always selling and reconnecting it back to that sales link. So for my experience trying this method, I do feel like doing some kind of VSL is core to the experience. But honestly, even though I am a technical editor and I would love to do editing work with people who are writing something, I don't think it's like a super clean fit. Also, what technical editing is a huge spectrum of stuff. Like, I could be doing copy editing on work. I could be doing developmental edits on work. I could be working with a whole scope of documents and making sure there's uniform consistency of tone and editing and formatting for you. I could be putting presentations or templates together. I could be reading instructions to make sure that they're clear enough for your end user. I could be providing a checklist on how to self-publish and coaching and walking you through that guide, as well as providing technical editing support during that process. I could be selling a writing or editing course of all different stripes and kinds, because I've done all kinds of writing and editing in my career. And I have, as a passion project, done all kinds of creative writing courses and editing courses over that time. That's like such a broad spectrum of things I could be doing, though. It's very hard to condense into a single VSL, or like to figure out a good way to pitch that to potential folks who might want those services. Not to mention, I am still very shaky on the one-to-one connection. Like, reading and writing are connected, and like my reviews are analytical enough you can see an idea of my developmental edits. I do sometimes get into the weeds with grammar and style and format as well, but it's not an all the time thing, and I'm not looking to confuse what's going on the channel that I'm generally happy with. So I think I'm gonna do a very stereotypical booktuber-esque thing and launch my book club, which I didn't plan to do until I had at least 500 subscribers, because I didn't feel like I'd be able to generate enough interest. But we're gonna make that my VSL and sort of market around that in these next 90 days. And if things work out to plan, maybe I'll also set up a Patreon and sort of market around that as well. I am filming this in the future, so I know what ended up happening happening, but that's my general plan for these next 12 weeks. So week 1 is going to be uploading my VSL, which I did. That's me announcing my Nevermore Notes book club, which is still a thing I'm doing and really enjoying. So minimally I got that out of this course. Also, announcing a book club on YouTube got me a lot of views, like way more than I expected to get off of that, even if I didn't get a ton of people joining. Like as of this recording, there are 4 people in the book group, so it's not super popular, but it is also October and I'm hoping we pick up a couple people this season because it is a book club that's examining classic Gothic works. So I don't know how high the interest level is there, but I do think the peak of that interest is probably going to be in the October time. So that was a super easy video for me to create. Done with that, which rolls me into week 2, where now I have to figure out what kind of outliers there are on booktube channels similar to mine and copy that. So I used vidIQ's outlier tool for this, and it was recommending me a bunch of like 50 Gothic works, 100 Gothic works, 10 Gothic works, like that other booktubers had recommended. So I thought that was perfect to go with my book club promotion, and I went ahead and did my own 50 Gothic read recommendations to haunt your home. That video took me forever to script, film, and publish. So I didn't manage the 2-hour window that Nolan Molt likes you to use when you're making these videos. And spoiler alert, I never managed to bring my process time down. It was always a lot longer than it should have been. But some of that is a me issue because I always want to be doing more and going like a little bit extra and over the top. So I'm not blaming Nolan's suggestion on that. And certainly I could have forced myself like with a timer to do things per his instructions and see what comes out. But I really feel like I'd have just had an unfinished video or a video I wasn't happy with that I was like forced to upload. So I didn't do that because it made me uncomfortable. But this one in particular took a super long time to do because I had to sort of figure out the structure for it, figure out what I would recommend and what I would say about each one. And then once I had all that scripting up and running, I had to film it. And then you would think because I picked such a simple backdrop, it was just me in the background, it would be easier, but that was not the case because I ended up magnetic masking my person and the background, and then with the background I used a Gaussian filter and I left myself like nice and crisp and clean. And then on top of that, like the TV in the background, it's not actually filming various things. That's like a blank wall that I then like implemented an in-window picture of different things. I was actually expecting a lot of views on this based off of the outliers. Like I titled mine very similar to other people's with just a little twist on it. I created a thumbnail that was very similar to other people's thumbnails, and I had the 50 recommendations the same way that other people had that. Even though one of the videos was only a couple months old and was receiving a lot of traction, my video just did not do the same kind of numbers. And I don't know if that's because my channel is not geared towards recommendations or if because it was July and people weren't into Gothic literature, but they had been in the spring. Rolling me into week 3 where I have my first vidIQ outlier issue. Most of the things that are trending really well are comparing books to movies or to TV shows. So it's like the adaptation discussion, which takes a ton of time to do. First you have to read the book, then you have to watch the media, and then you have to meticulously take notes between the two of them so you can actually discuss it point by point. So that was like my first stumbling block on doing an adaptation. But my second stumbling block there was just trying to figure out if an adaptation that was like older or that wasn't releasing right now would have any appeal at all, because all of these adaptation videos that were trending were about like TV shows or movies that were releasing that week or that month, and I didn't have that, right? So I searched a little bit further off the grid and started looking at like some bookish creators who were like at the next level above me or like several levels above me, but who I do content that's kind of like, and tried to see what was trending for them right now. And one topic that was trending was talking about how romance and romantasy is actually like pushing a conservative agenda. And I already had a script like halfway, 3/4 done about a video that I think was pushing like a hyper conservative view of things. Rushed to finish that script, make that video, which was a video I already intended to make, so I was sort of happy that everything lined up. Again, this did not pop off. And I had like a thumbnail I thought was really fun, like where I took the book cover and I threw Trump's hair on top of our main protagonist. I just thought it was like a silly, funny thing. It did take me a long time to edit that one, but I wasn't as upset about that because I I would have made this video anyways. I really wanted to talk about this book, so I don't care about that. And I'm not super surprised this didn't hit the way I wanted it to, even with a fun thumbnail and a catchy title, because the book itself is like not super well known, and people usually want the smoke for books that are trending on Book Talk. They don't want to hear about just like random indie authors, which is a shame. Really made a week 4 where vidIQ is still pushing book adaptation videos at me. So I decided what I would do is I would take my monthly read from Nevermore Notes, which is Turn of the Screw, and find a film adaptation to compare the two. Did not go super well, probably because what I found was 2020 The Turning, which is a 5-year-old movie that didn't get great reviews. And FYI, that's kind of a shame because I think visually it was quite interesting, even if storyline it was a little confused. I probably could have tried to hit more views by doing The Haunting of Bly Manor, which is season 2 of The Haunting of Hill House, and is sort of kind of about Turn of the Screw. But season 2 of a TV show, it's like 8-9 hours of content versus me watching an hour-and-a-half film. I could not binge 8 hours and also come up with like a review. Not to mention I'd have had so much more to talk about with 9 hours versus an hour-and-a-half, and then that would have resulted in so much more editing I had to do. It would have resulted in a longer video, and who knows if anyone's into that. No, I'm happy with my hour-and-a-half turning content. It just didn't get any views or go viral or even get that many recommendations. So week 5, I was sort of disheartened with the program, and I decided to do something a little bit different. And I took a popular format in the booktube genre, the try-a-chapter, and decided that I would do some kind of try-a-chapter reading vloggy kind of thing and upload that on my Friday slot and see if like a traditional booktube format would do well. This was a good move on my part because I had just finished an upload where I'd watched a bunch of other booktubers mid-year wrap-up and compared their books picks to my book reads, and that means that there were a lot of creator shout outs and a lot of people in community kind of watching the channel, so I feel like I probably got more eyes on that try-a-chapter than I otherwise would have. I haven't mentioned it till now because it hasn't been relevant, but Nolan Molt does offer you a bunch of different like little courses and papers to help you, and this includes a ChatGPT prompt he set up where ChatGPT takes like the 20 most viral YouTube titles and adapts them to different pitches for your niche, so you'll have the title just to start. And I have tried this tool several times. In fact, I actually have a couple of videos waiting in my upload file that I did based off of this, and I have one that I actually published months ago that has not done well. What I'll say for the tool is the ones that are really good that it suggests you would take like years for you to actually execute on well, in my personal opinion. And the other ones sort of show the issue with AI in general, and that it's sort of like regurgitating things to you in ways that don't make sense or telling you things that nobody would ever want to hear from you. For a little bit, I consistently thought that I was the problem and I wasn't explaining my niche well, and that's why the prompt wasn't doing it. But I did like 7 or 8 tries on this, and I never really got like fairly consistent title generations that I feel like would work for me or the channel, or that I could even consider doing without significant legwork on my part. Rolling me into week 6 of the project where I'm halfway done. This was an easy video pick for me this week because we had finished Turn of the Screw, so I did a Gothic review of that novel and then announced what we would be reading in the coming month. While the video itself does not go super viral, it is something that I would have probably done for the channel anyway. It does reinforce my expertise in Gothic literature, and it does showcase the kind of conversation that you would have if you came and joined the book club. So from that particular angle, I think it was a smart and good video to make, and I'm happy with what I have. Week 7 and 8 roll around, and I'm a little bit stymied about what to do, and I don't end up posting a second Friday video, so I took 2 weeks off in my 90 days. Sorry guys. Rolling me into week 9 where I was working on way too many scripts at once, too many ideas, so I polled the audience to see what they would like from me first, because I was working both on an Alien Earth review and also on a War of the Worlds review, and overwhelmingly people were more interested in my Alien Earth take, so I ended up doing a massive episode 1 through 4 review that pretty much immediately went really viral, for my channel anyways. And FYI, I do have a fully completed script of War of the Worlds that I still have not filmed or scheduled out because now I'm wondering if the moment has passed. which rolls me into weeks 10 through 12, where if you find something that's successful, you just do it again, right? So I just keep doing an episode by episode review of Alien Earth. Episode 5 review did not go so well. Episode 6, I had a really controversial clickbaity title and thumbnail, and that did really well for me. Episode 7 did okay, and then my finale episode is still trending. We're not very far forward. I think it hasn't even been a full week, but I already have pretty good views on that. The other thing about doing episode by episode reviews of a TV show is that season finale is going to continue to re-hit when people want like a refresher before the next season launches. What I have learned from this is doing something relevant and highly popular is obviously the way to go, which means my movie and TV show stuff is always going to do better than my book stuff. Also, rage bait gets people to click, but it does not retain well. Like, I do address what I talk about in my title and thumbnail, but I think I do it from a more academic perspective than my marketing might imply. And because of that, people sort of like clicked off pretty quickly when they saw we were going to go that angle, which rolls me into a full reflection of this 90-day journey. I kind of have mixed feelings about my results so far. If we return to my personalized plan, the main goal was to get more views, and I did that. It is hard to know objectively how much of that has to do with the system that I was using and how much of that has to do with uploading an extra video each week. When you compare my already planned content versus my Nolan Molt videos though, out of 10 weeks where they were going head-to-head in competition, the Nolan Molt video plan got more views 6 out of those 10 times. This is like a slight favor in searching for outliers and trying to create a viral title and like pre-planning my thumbnail out before I make the video. Also, it got me into a framework where I'm sort of thinking about those things more and actually making those pre-plans. And I think just going into that routine is helpful because I used it in some of my regularly scheduled content too. And in fact, there are a couple of videos that are coming out that uses that. And I'll be curious to see if like my idea plus a slightly elevated packaging does the job for me in a way that like is significantly more enjoyable than going 100% packaging forward and then trying to create content retroactively for it. And it is worth noting that 4 of the 6 things that did better are episode reviews of a popular horror TV show, which is related to my content because while I do usually focus on speculative books, it's speculative storytelling, period. And Alien Earth qualifies as that, even if it's the TV show movie thing. And it is sort of like telling me that I do need to make sure I continue to focus on those TV shows and movies, even if it can be in like a more unique way. Like, for example, I didn't know what I would do after Alien Earth finished, so I polled the audience, and what's going up is retro reviews of Penny Dreadful because that's what the audience wanted to see. As of filming, none of those have uploaded yet, so we will see if that holds true or if the audience voted for something and then doesn't really like what I produce. But right now I'm hoping for the best. And as you can probably tell, I'm a little bit mixed on these results because I did really expect to get a significant change and like growth bump from this, which if you look at my subscribers is actually a thing that worked. But if you're looking at views and retention and just like overall interaction on the channel is a little bit more mixed. It certainly wasn't the kind of growth I felt like the advice had promised me, which of course is disappointing because you want to succeed. But on the flip side, it feels like strangely and perversely validating because if it really was that easy and if that was all you had to do to make it work, it sort of feels like anybody and everybody could be doing it. And a little bit I'd be sad because some of what I would have had to do to get the growth would have not been stuff that I was as passionate or keen to do. So that rolls me into my VSL or the YouTube sales video, which in my case is a book club and was hopefully going to blossom into an announcement for Patreon. Obviously the Patreon thing didn't happen. I really just don't think I have the views or subscribers to put on a Patreon and see anything from it. And additionally, like I did actually map out the different tiers I wanted and what I would do for each one of them. And there was some concern for me based off of the extra level of work that doing 2 videos a week and doing like research and all of that to sort of like get this going. I was like, man, based off of that extra work alone, plus like the extra responsibility of running the book club and hosting monthly conversations around the books that we read, I don't know that I'm ready to take on a Patreon right now and like commit to that. What if people actually do sign up and I actually do have to deliver on these things? So I think I'm gonna just work on finding like the balance here with what I'm doing right now before I jump into creating a Patreon and trying to deliver on something that I'm just not ready to do yet. We have talked a little bit about whether or not my VSL for the book club worked or not. And I do really feel like the answer is I don't know. We're only like 4 months in. Even if it doesn't pop off here in October the way I'm sort of like hoping we'll get a few more folks, I think it's pretty early in, and I think classic Gothic literature is sort of a little bit niche. So I'm happy I started it. It's definitely not something I would have started without Nolan's push, and he does suggest that people go ahead and dive into things before they're 100% ready, because like once you're in there and doing it and committed, you're more likely to keep doing it and making the necessary corrections. And if you're always like waiting for things to be perfect or waiting for the right time, a lot of people use it as an excuse not to start something that's going to end up being great for them. And I really agree with that advice, and I think it paid off a lot here with the book club, because without trying this 90-day experiment, I would not have a club, and I'm really enjoying my monthly conversations with folks. I am enjoying finally getting around to some of these classic reads. That part was successful, but as far as did I actually get people from my YouTube, have I actually created a successful funnel? The answer is probably not. Have I been able to swap my views from generally search views to browse views? The answer here is yes. Again, it's almost 100% from the Alien Earth stuff, so it will be interesting to see once that's a little bit farther in the rearview mirror if I can maintain it. Thoughts on Tomes did put out a really interesting video called Do We Even Need to Have Niches Anymore? And in it she talks about, instead of being like a booktube niche, it's more interesting to make like a web of content that's sort of like all interconnected to a couple of different interests you have. And that's always sort of been what I've been doing. Like if you look at it from a strictly niche perspective, speculative storytelling is way too broad. But this project has sort of reinforced the idea of the web to me more than the niche, because booktube specifically is too small a niche, it is too narrow a focus, and the content there is kind of harder to make. But if you incorporate shows and TV stuff, if you bring in like literary analysis and media analysis, which I think are big hubs of what I do and what interests me. Like I like to deep dive into things, I like to analyze it and pick it apart. And I like to like help other people sort of figure out how to do that on their own, or maybe help them come up with some alternative interpretations or questions they could bring to their own media diet. And this isn't like a small booktube thing, this is a larger niche and like nesting doll of things like Jess's channel, and then here are the spokes that come out of it. So it's cool because even though it really reaffirmed for me that I don't have a very good solid control of my niche, I do have a good idea about like what my web is. I need to lean in a little bit more to my web, I need to diversify a little bit, and I need to make sure that I'm picking things that are relevant, or at least pulling the audience and releasing things that they would like to see versus things that I just want to do randomly. And that makes sense to me because I have like way more ideas than I have actual time to create. So having them like help me focus, especially on the media side, really like brings into focus where I need to be prioritizing stuff. I did already mention I had some unexpected results where my subscriber count went way up, which generally speaking I would say is a meaningless metric, except I haven't hit 500 subscribers, let alone 1,000 subscribers, and you do need that original count of subscribers to get monetized, which is a thing I'd like to do on the channel. Of course, ironically at this point in time, my subscriber count is going up faster than my watch hours, so like if my growth continues at this rate, I am on track to hit 500 subscribers by the end of this year, beginning of next year, but I'm nowhere near close enough watch hours to do anything with those subs. Which does roll me into my watch hours. I did actually expect to see a dip in overall watch hours for the year, because last year I did like a Plated Prisoners full timeline, and that not only is a really long video, but it's a very popular one that people watch all the way through pretty much. But it's not going to continue to have return on investment all the time now that that series is done. So I expected the year to roll over and those hours to roll over and me to have a lot less watch hours year to date. But actually, thanks to this Alien Earth stuff I've been doing and thanks to a couple other projects, I've been able not only to maintain it, but increase those watch hours. So that's been sort of cool. Which rolls me into what I learned in these last 90 days. It's really hard to change habits. One of the reasons people aren't packaging forward isn't just because it's not fun, but because it's really hard to go from idea to packaging first and then making an idea and a script from there. Once you get a little bit more used to it, where like it's not entirely packaging an idea, it's like I have an idea and now I must come up with an attractive package for it before I script anything out, which like sucks a little bit because I love to get into like the details first, but it just is what it is, like, because if you don't have the title and the thumbnail in mind, then you can't write a script that delivers on whatever that viral packaging promised. Also, it takes me a very long time to make a video, which I kind of already knew, but this reinforced even short videos or quick videos or low effort videos take a long time to make. Just like me scripting, filming, editing, uploading, all of that, it is a lot more intense than I think people generally give credit for. I have no idea how creators who are doing this 2-hour turnaround that Nolan suggests actually manage it. I think booktube videos as a whole take a lot longer than other kinds of videos. I can churn and burn TV episode by episode reviews pretty quickly. Like, I just finished filming a review for Penny Dreadful and I was actually concerned that I wouldn't have anything to upload based off of how quickly I did the filming. I'm happy with what I produced, don't get me wrong, but it was so quick to watch film reaction and be done. Where like with book stuff, I have to read it, I have to take notes, I have to then take those notes and turn them into a script. Like, it's a much longer process is what I'm saying. And maybe it's not for everybody. Maybe some people have a very quick turnaround and they've got the process really like distilled into the most essential parts, but I'm just not there yet. And because of that, like, you know, when I think about cool topics I want to do, there's always a lot of research involved. Then there's sourcing that research. Then there's actually reading the books. Like, it is a bunch of pre-work to get to this filming, editing, uploading part. And I actually do think there's a big difference between YouTube for business versus YouTube just to talk to y'all and have like content and thoughts put out there. Because I probably could do the 2-hour turnaround if I just wanted to like roll off the cuff and try and sell you guys something off of a topic that's trendy. But that's not really the goal of my channel. Like, the goal of my channel is to be analytical and detailed and to deep dive into stuff. All of that takes time and thought, like, not only to create something to talk to you guys about, but also in like its presentation takes time and thought. And sometimes like if I'm making extra material or I'm finding B-roll or whatever, that is also sunken cost. I'm really proud I actually stuck to the 12-week timeline. One of the main reasons I didn't want to purchase the Content Academy is because I felt like I'll go ahead and get that and then I won't do the 12-week course. I'll lose access to all the content. I won't have gone to the meetings and I'll have just dumped a bunch of money in nothing. So the fact that I could come up with a roadmap and actually stick to it for more or less 12 weeks was good for me. And I think it says good things about my overall commitment and like attempts to move forward with this channel. I am definitely thinking more about packaging now than I was before this 90-day challenge. And I had thought that I was thinking about packaging even before that and thought that I had figured it out, because like you'll notice in 2024 there was a massive change in how I did thumbnails and I was trying to like spark curiosity instead of being more direct about what I was providing in videos on titles. But even that has evolved further from there. And I do feel like I have leveled that aspect of my content creation up, and I hope to see benefits from that in the future. But if you got all the way to this point in the video, I want to thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Give me one of those like chart emojis to let me know you're still here, and talk to me in those comments down below. Are there any 90-day challenges that you would want me to do on this channel? Are there things that would be really quick, simple fixes I could be doing that would improve your watching experience? You know, huge thank you to all you guys who have just subscribed, or who leave me comments, or who have been longtime viewers. It really does mean a lot to me, and I appreciate every single one of you. And as always, keep reading.